Let's call this meeting to order at 4:33. Consideration of any changes, additions, or removals to the agenda. Public comments.
Kathy.
You're here.
Sorry,
Do you
you?
want
I'm
to say
here,
anything?
I'm
Or you-
listening.
Okay, thank you, Kath.
Okay. Start with the approval of the minutes, January 22nd, 2026,
Yep.
the regular meeting, and February 12th, 2026 for the special meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve January 22nd and February 12th. February 12th was
The
very
special meeting.
long,
Yeah.
but the minutes seem to me to be
Yeah,
very
they did.
accurate.
Yeah, they did.
So I made the motion.
Thank
I will
you.
second that. All in favor? Aye, aye.
There he is. Wait. Hi.
He's there.
Aye.
Good, okay.
We
Gotcha.
eyed it.
We'll add you to that.
Nice shirt.
Nice.
And we can get started on number 5,
Okay.
Department Managers Report, please,
Great,
Chris.
thank you. So things are going well. Audit continues. They were a lot more detailed with us this year than they've been in the past. I think because of things that have happened in other utilities, but we're doing fine. And we've completed all our tasks. They've got 18 more to do of the 72 they gave us assignments for, so it's going along.
Oh, good.
Haven't heard any issues, so I think that's fine. The I-39 process for the ISO New England Stonehouse Solar thing, I've talked about this before, but Stonehouse Solar didn't realize they needed to do it. They do need to do it. We've glommed on to a bunch of GMP projects that were going in anyway, so GMP is kind of coordinating it for us along with their project, which is great. However, it's not going to get done before the end of the year. And so Stonehouse Solar requested an increase in their costs from $104 a megawatt hour to $107. So a little more than a $3 increase. I feel like that's reasonable based on the time that has occurred, and as you'll see when we talk about the other solar project, still very reasonable cost for us. So I don't think I need your approval, but if you'd like to give it to me, I would be welcome to have it. But I think it's just an amendment to the existing agreement, so I felt like kind of within the margin of things that we deal with. But if you disagree, it's fine.
Can you just explain in a little more detail about what caused the delay?
Yes. So they are trying to take advantage of the investment tax credits, which they are still in line to do, even though they've been rescinded. They were expecting to construct this summer into the fall
Right.
and have all their approvals in place by the spring, ready to go when the snow melted. This process is they're not even going to compile all the documents to give to ISO New England until the end of July, early August. We expect not to hear back from ISO until September, October. They don't feel like they're going to be able to mobilize. They don't want to mobilize to start the project and then stop for the winter and come back and do it. So they're basically taking a seasonal hit here, and they're not going to be operational until mid to late 2027. It's, you could argue that it's something they should have anticipated and known about, but in fairness, the I-3 process never used to be applied to solar projects of this size, and ISO New England has just decided that they're starting to do that. And so there are a bunch of projects that are scrambling to get into this hopper. It turns out that Stonehouse Solar is the only one that was planning on constructing this year. The others that GMP has in the hopper that they're gonna put into this process, they weren't expecting to construct till 27, 28, 29. So it wasn't such a big deal for them, but it was for Stonehouse. So, as with everything else, time is money. The delay is costing them, it's gonna cost them more for equipment, ordering materials, getting stuff in. So, labor, everything is up.
And that's where that,
That's where that
Extra,
$3, it's
yeah.
basically 3%
yeah.
increase. So I think so my intent would be to go forward with the amendment, if you're all okay with that. I think it still makes sense.
You don't need a motion for that.
I don't think, well, let's discuss that for a second. On something like this, would you like to have you all approve that sort of price increase? I mean, you've approved our entering into contracts for these type of things, and that's, I think, perfectly appropriate. The question is, how much kind of discretion do you want me to have for when things like this come up to be able to execute them? Obviously, you meet once a month. I don't think there's a time frame constraint here. It lined up nicely with bringing it to your attention. I will, of course, always note something like this in the thing, but I'm happy also just to have you tell me that on a contract that you have authorized me to sign, if the price changes, to come back to you is also a perfectly reasonable thing to ask.
What's the 3% of the total amount?
Right. So we don't pay for the project.
Right.
We pay for our kilowatt hours or
Yeah.
megawatt hours in this case. So it's 3% of what we pay for their power. So
Okay.
when the solar project comes online, they'll produce
Instead-
solar and we'll buy it at 10 cents, at 10.3 cents, it was 10.3 cents a kilowatt hour, and now it'll
Okay.
be 10.7 cents a
Okay.
kilowatt
All
hour.
right.
10.4.
Thank you.
10.4 to 10.7.
Thank you.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
I see it
Penny,
there.
yeah.
4 to
Thanks.
7, up 3, right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
I'm-
in that, in that situation.
Yeah, I don't see it as a measurable
No.
Yeah, that was my feeling
consequential
too, but
change.
certainly if something changed by, I would say even 10% or more, I would probably come back to
Yeah.
you with that, something
Yeah,
like that.
I think that's
Okay.
reasonable. Yeah.
Still steal over what we're paying for.
Yes,
Yeah.
and as when
Other
we get
power
to that
sources,
on the
so
agenda, you'll see, yeah, it
As
is.
long as it generates power.
Right,
It
right,
doesn't matter how much it
You know,
generates.
Here's
Right,
hoping.
doesn't-
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
We could keep
Power.
doing this for
No,
forever
it's-
and not have
You know,
any.
I'm serious, is
Yeah.
the one, the solar project that's up on North Hill,
Yeah.
up by,
Barker.
Barker
like,
Farm.
I'm just curious what that produces and
I
how
haven't
often.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that
It's not for this
one.
meeting, but
Yeah.
it might be interesting to know that.
Yeah, you
Because
can-
this project would seem to be a similar size.
Yep.
And I
It
don't
is.
know if
Oh,
it's.
so it's substantially
not
smaller.
even close.
About a quarter
Oh,
of the
it's a lot
size.
smaller.
Oh,
It's
is
like
it?
20
Okay.
megawatts, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's 20-ish.
Right.
Yeah, more or less than
I'm,
5.
I guess I'm just
Yeah.
curious in terms of
We could still give
solar
you-
projects.
We
That
could
one,
s-
since it's
Yep.
in our backyard,
Yep.
might be interesting.
Well, we
to
could
know.
certainly look at that, and assuming I can get access to the data, which I think I probably could, we can give you a year-long chart of kind of what
I'm
it
just-
produced on
yeah,
what days,
I'd be
right?
curious
Because you'll
about
see,
that.
you'll see the typical curve of kind of lower in the winter,
Right.
higher in the summer.
Yeah.
Right.
But it'd be, yeah, it would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be
Okay.
interesting. I'd like-
So yeah, if there is any data.
Okay,
it's-
let me make a note
Yeah,
of that.
yeah,
'cause-
I mean,
yeah, I'm curious about
Yeah.
that too.
In Vermont in general, we assume, when you're designing a solar project, you assume that you get 4.3 hours of sun per day.
Per
For
day.
like a residential,
Right.
just at our latitude.
But there are
they would say.
probably other things that affect that other than the sun, like,
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that includes
Yeah.
cloud cover and all of the,
And depending on the
Snow.
angle that they construct it at, which they usually do a 30-degree angle because it maximizes the year-long
Yeah.
solar thing, but that's also, in my experience at home, that is just enough to hold the snow on it, right?
Oh.
So for my home solar panels, I adjust them 4 times a year, change the
Yeah.
angle. And now happens to be the time when it's at its steepest angle, so snow comes off of it and it's getting the solar thing, but you don't want to go out and try and hand adjust 4.99 megawatts of solar
No.
panels.
Right.
So,
Oh, these are
okay.
designed to be
Anyway.
as low maintenance
Yeah.
as possible.
Yeah.
While maximizing.
And in that situation, is there a snow removal, like, you just.
For the most part, you do more damage to the panels by trying to remove snow than you would get out of, like, you still, even when they're covered in snow, you
They're
still get
receiving, yeah.
at
You
least
still do
some
get
amount.
some, yeah,
Yeah.
you do get
And
some.
so
Depending on how much is on
the
it.
general advice is just to leave it
Yeah.
because you're probably gonna damage the glass more
Yeah.
than it's worth.
Plus, if you do get a decent warm day, the sun penetrates that, melts the thing, and it tends to slide
Yeah.
off anyway, but
Yeah.
just like your roof.
Yeah.
Okay, moving along. We've finalized the agreement with Okemo. Well, I sent them a final agreement contract for the Okemo compressor project, similar to what I've given you a year ago that they never signed. Same incentive program. We're getting the same recs. We're getting the same benefits. So I sent that off to Eb a few days ago. Assume he'll sign it, and then VEPSA will enter into a revised agreement with us as well. So the meeting on the 12th that we had, the special meeting on the rates, I told you that DPS, the Department of Public Service, was really supportive of our effort and was going to participate and help in any way they could. And then got back to a voicemail that said, Chris, in talking with VEPSA some more, we don't think you're going to have the data necessary, this is necessary from your AMI meters to support a full re-rate design. That is, we're going to need a year's worth of data, so it puts us into 2027. However, they said, we do have the innovative rate design provisions of the rules that would allow us to do pilot rates, try a pilot rate, and those are good for up to 18 months, so that would get us to where we've finalized a rate structure. So when we talk about that today, I'll have some straw proposals for you, but I don't think, we're probably not going to be in a position where you're going to need a workshop meetings like we had on the 12th, because we're going to be slowing down quite a bit until we get a lot of data together. So it's kind of bad news, but good news in the sense that they were still willing to see us do work on whatever we felt was important, and they know that we feel like the residential demand is probably the key one that we wanted to focus on, so.
So do they take whatever data we have now in regards to the pilot?
Yes.
Yeah.
They would use that, and they feel like we do have decent data, so
Okay.
it's just that normally the Public Utility Commission does require a full year's worth of, they're looking at a full rate year to see. I understand that, but we're moving right ahead with the meters. We're doing really well, and we'll have them all in soon, but a year's worth of data is gonna bring us to spring of next year.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So that was the bad news there.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah.
And I want to do it right if we're gonna
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
undertake this.
Yeah, you don't want to do it and
Thorough
then
process.
2 years after we did get it done, you have to do it again.
I put in
Right.
my report, discussion of the EV charging station at Pond Street, but that's on the agenda, so we'll talk about that when we get to it. Not much going on yet on the 248J application for the regulator replacement at Howard Barton Junior Substation. We are in contact. Our attorneys are going to be kind of teeing up the formal submittals, and Brett and I will be providing the testimony on that, plus the PLM, our engineers, our electrical engineers, for anything that's needed there. I spent the last couple of weeks really scrubbing all of our contacts, our previous engineers, our new engineers since 1998. They said they've been working for us, but didn't go back as far as Howard Barton Jr. to try and gather all the CPGs that we have on record for for our substations, for everything else. Have one for Commonwealth. I have one for Smithville. I don't have one for Howard Barton Jr., which means to me, it certainly was grandfathered. It existed long before 1968 when 248 process went into play. But I'm sure we've made changes to it since then, and, repairs, additions, don't seem to see any regulatory review of those. So this might be they may want to just look at the thing as a whole when we submit this. They're not going to
Who was
ask
the engineer?
before PLM.
I don't know, before Alan Rice was there, when I was there the
Does-
first time.
Yep.
Okay, never mind,
Yeah.
I
just
don't know who was
curious.
there prior to
Okay.
that.
Yeah, he said to check with Primer Piper, which is a law firm that might have worked with us, but they didn't have anything either. This I'll go on record by saying this. They won't make us take the substation down because it doesn't have a permit. Okay? I'm not really worried about this.
Yeah, it's not consumable.
All right. We're going to talk a little bit later about Flatland Solar and the opportunity to buy into that project. We also had Gene participate. We had a meeting with VEPSA on rolling out the Affordable Community Energy Program, the anchor thing we talked about last time, where residents of below 185% below the poverty limit can get support for their electric bills. It's a process. They're going to start applications in the end of March. The application period is only open through August, and then they start, once they select you into the program, you're in for 5 years. Very strange to me.
Yeah.
So if your economic conditions change, I don't know how that changes that. They're still working out some details, but they do know that what it would do is, if you are eligible, it would pay $29.55 a month credit towards your electric bill for 5 years.
For 5 years, that is true.
It's significant over time.
Yeah.
And Gina and I have talked about kind of how we might roll that out locally. And one of the things in your packet, a few things back, are drafts. I took my draft out because it was so bad. It was detailed and wordy.
That was it.
Gene scrubbed it down to a beautiful thing, but I had also sent it to DPS to see what their thoughts were, because sometimes they have to approve the bill inserts that we do. They don't in this case, but they gave me a very nice bulleted list that was much simpler. So between those two, I welcome more comments from you guys, but we'll probably work to get that into a bill insert.
The only
this
thing
month.
that I thought is confusing, or would be confusing, and it probably has to stay there, but it says households with incomes below 185% of the federal poverty level. That might scare people to
Right.
think, oh, I should, anyway.
It's a little-
There's probably no way to.
Well, if you
change
look at
that.
are you looking at DPS's version that it gave us?
no.
Okay. That's in your book if you didn't see that yet.
I did print it out.
You did?
I just don't know what I did with it.
That's okay. They had a very nice wording for it, and I don't have a copy
Okay,
before me
that's-
either.
that's
Maybe
fine.
one of you could look at
Yeah, I
that.
pulled it up.
It says at or below the same.
As long as
Yeah, it
it's
uses the
something,
same language. Yeah,
So it does-
household income at or below 185% of the federal poverty level.
Yeah.
well, I know that, I just said, something that it's fine.
Do you think it will scare people off?
No,
Or they're gonna feel?
I don't know that it will scare them off, I just they might not understand that, but it's
Okay.
okay, it's all right.
By the time this goes out, actually, I see your point now. By the time this goes out, we should have numbers about what that household income is. I'll have it on hand so we can tell people it's 85,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah, the percentage.
Yeah. Okay. Zipping right along. That's it. Oh, Brett and I met with Magris on Tuesday and did a nice site tour of their facilities. got to wear a hard hat for the first time in a long time. They are very interested in this whole rate redesign process, but anything that they can do to try and reduce their load and match our load profile for what we need. So we're working with them pretty closely. They came, I think, today. Did they come
Yeah.
today to look at
Yeah, Tom
SCADA?
came up today.
To look at the SCADA system, see data. Evidently, he's a computer something or other. So he's gonna start crunching some of the data that we have to see how they can be helpful and how we can help them. So that's basically it.
Nice.
That's it for you, Chris?
Yep, that's it for me.
All right, outside operations managers report.
First thing I want to do is apologize that I didn't correct the year on that. I used the same format and I didn't correct the year. on it.
I see.
I did
It's
on,
fine.
I did on mine, but.
What year were we in?
25.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't corrected to 26
Still
on
February
that.
Yeah.
25.
I knew you meant 26.
Well, when I sent out the agenda, Gene caught the fact that I sent, for some reason, sent out June's of 25's agenda out. It wasn't a test. It wasn't meant to be a test, but thank you.
Who's reading?
Right.
Okay, streetlight maintenance, we had 2 meter reading we completed today, so that's not in progress, we completed. Substations monthly checks, then the Howard Barton regs, and Smithville reclosures in progress for 26, summer 26. 2 dig safes, outage at 526 Commonwealth. That was only one customer, but it was on a very cold night. Tree took the main line down. 3 service upgrades. Our tree trimming guy, I didn't put it on there, but he stopped me the other day and he is retiring in September, so we will be hunting for somebody certified to do that. I did get a call from another company yesterday and he sent off some stuff. Eustis Cable has got a certified crew that is all certified to work around hot lines, and so I'll get rates and stuff from him.
Do you want to mention, and I don't think that I've talked to them about the idea of us applying for a grant for
Oh.
you guys doing some work. Do you want to?
Yeah, so Chris has applied for a grant to increase, we increased our budget we split it with TDS, 50/50. We've increased it, but it's still, the way the growth is now, you can't stay ahead of it. I mean, it used to be a 7-year plan. Howard had a 7-year plan, and, every 7 years you were hitting the same area again and again. You don't make 7 years. You're lucky if you make 5.
Oh, jeez.
So the stuff's growing a lot faster. As you know, stuff doesn't get done as fast as it used to get done.
That's true. Yeah.
The work ethics.
Yeah.
So Chris applied for a grant, and we're also looking, we did price out a machine with a brush head on it, kind of like the state's starting to do.
Mhm.
So you can keep it down and maintained a lot better and a lot safer. So you just have to do it a little more often. But the other issue that's nice about that is you can compost all that stuff up right there. We're having a hard time to get rid of chips,
Yep.
places to dump chips. People don't like them blown in the woods because then you leave piles of them, and it's not spread out like when you do it with a mulching head. You kind of compost it and it's spread everywhere, so it's
What the state does now.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Nobody
yeah,
likes
yeah.
that, yeah.
So we are looking at some options of that, so kind of see how the grant works out, and if that'll help offset the cost of a machine or.
Yeah, just one slight correction. I haven't applied yet.
Oh,
I
okay.
did explore it, and it's part of the grid grant program for reliability, and this would clearly, a lot of the other utilities applied for tree trimming as part of their reliability projects. We applied for our SCADA project. So that was last year. We're still in the process of finishing that application process. I did talk with the people who were managing that and asked them if there was available money for another project, this one. And they said, yes, but we need a little bit to get the rest of the stuff out the door from last year, because there's still other utilities that haven't finished their full application for their grants. But this one would be in line with that. It would be about $250,000 for 3 years. that I would try to pay for the skid steer and the mower deck, the flail mower, plus their time. So I think I'm optimistic, but I'm timing it for when they tell me to apply, so that's the only difference.
Right, and with now having the AMI meters, like, without having to do the meter reading, that does free up some time.
That's what we're thinking.
Yeah.
That's what we're,
Yeah, good.
Yeah, and we'll get them out there inspecting the lines a little bit
Right,
more. And
yeah,
seeing
yeah.
some of that stuff and
Yeah.
getting some of that trimming done.
Good.
Vehicle maintenance, the new bucket I did, the pre-built today with the company. We go through the whole truck, confirm everything's right. The cabin chassis due the end of this coming month, end of March. So they will start building probably within the next month and a half. We probably won't see that truck till mid to late summer. The other thing I was discussing with Chris, back when I had ordered this truck, we actually thought we were gonna see it in 25, not 26. So this truck's actually gonna be, the cabin chassis will actually be a 27 model year. But the issue we run into is the truck that's being built now was supposed to replace a 20-year-old truck that was 20 years old in 2022. So now we've got a 2027 truck that's due for replacement.
So-
We are not going with the same size truck, we're going with back to the single axle like we've got now. The new one we've got's a tandem, because we wanted one with a little bit more reach for some of applications, but the new one, it doesn't change, I say it doesn't change the price. He was supposed to get back to me today, this afternoon, before my meeting, and he didn't, but we're guessing between $50,000 and $70,000, probably less than the one we got now, and the one we're getting now is right around 436,000.
it's in the high 300s
So it's in the
probably.
high 300s. The question I have for the board, I mean, we can make the truck that we have go longer. We get a little concerned about keeping the thing inspected after 20 years and the reliability of it. But the other problem I have is I need to know when we want to put this in the budget, because it's going to take 2 to 3 years to get this built again.
To get a second one built,
Once
yeah.
I order another truck, it's going to be 3 years out before we're going to see it.
So Brett has a slot that,
Actually, I don't. I
Oh, you
found
don't?
out-
Okay,
No, so
all right.
that's why we're to the 3 years. So
Okay.
the slot they had was for this plant,
oh, okay.
which is another tandem, and I don't want another tandem.
Okay,
So
yeah.
this truck's gonna be built in another plant, so we don't have that slot. So it actually changed the whole perspective a little bit as far as
Okay.
that goes, but it still puts us, if we're gonna order one, we need to figure out when we wanna order it, because it's gonna be probably 3 years out before we're gonna
Yeah.
get it.
And the reason I think we're raising this with you is it was not part of our 5-year capital budget plan. I think we thought it was, but it wasn't in there. So we have this new truck coming. We have to replace the other bucket truck. We want to get it onto your radar screen, and if you feel
So,
okay, we'll.
so you'll present an
A
updated.
revised-
Okay,
Yes, if you're amenable to that. If you told me,
yes.
go pound sand, then we
Well,
won't.
no, I
produce it,
mean, we
but yeah.
can't make a decision if we can't.
Correct.
Don't have those numbers.
Yeah, so we'll get the numbers in a revised capital budget plan for you,
Yeah.
probably next month.
For the next meeting.
For the next meeting.
Then I'll have a little bit
That's-
better
that's
time frame
fine.
on how long
Yeah.
it's gonna take to get it.
And the
what
goal,
cost is gonna be.
I mean, ideally, in my mind, you'd want to spread these out more so that when you go into cycles of replacement 20 years from now, you're not replacing both again in a 20-year
Yeah, so they
timeframe.
were a 5-year span.
5-year
before.
span before, we're a little crunched now, but I'm quite confident that neither of us will be here for the next 20-year
No,
one.
so it'll be for the next truck.
Yeah. So
Well, we don't want to leave a mess for somebody else.
Somebody else.
Oh,
We know
okay.
what that feels like.
Okay, so
We do. We
I
do
think
know
we
what
should
that
think
feels
about how to at least maintain them such that they were planned for being decommissioned at a bit better spread than where we're gonna end up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to that end, do we, on our capital budget, do we just list all of our assets, all of our,
We try, yeah, for anything that needs to be
anything that we're
invested
depreciating
in,
over time?
anything big that needs to be replaced or maintained significantly goes in the capital
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah, just to, have it mapped out for us, like we know that we have this truck that we bought
Right.
in 20, you said that was 20,
Be at 27, oh, 20.
oh, the,
2022, the one we're replacing is 2002.
bought in like 2000, yeah,
And the
2002.
other one's 2007.
Yeah, and so just having those on our thing, like,
Yeah.
2000,
And
like how,
20 years is the typical. I mean, GMP keeps them less than that, but, I mean, we don't run them like GMP does, and
Yeah.
they take care of them a lot better, so.
yeah, and I would assume that we're depreciating those
Yes,
in our books
Yes.
over time,
Yep.
over that 20-year, probably
Yes.
down to zero.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So safety meeting was OSHA fundamentals, shop and office maintenance, snow removal, shoveling. AMI meters were just over 2,000 meters installed out of roughly 3,800, so we're doing pretty good. I think we've had one, as of today, we had one meter that failed on us.
One of the AMI meters?
Yeah.
What was the-
We don't know. They were having problems picking up communication of it, and they wanted us to unplug it for a minute and then plug it back in so it could drain down and plug back in.
Standard
Kinda
reboot, right?
Kind of reboot itself.
Right,
and
right.
It
Kick
didn't,
it.
it didn't reboot, it didn't read or did nothing. We
didn't.
brought it back to the meter tester, put it on the meter tester, it failed,
Yeah, so it's just a faulty
Yep,
Yeah.
so.
that's why we have the meter tester, and, yeah,
theory. You're gonna get like 5% of those per batch. It's,
Right.
yeah, so far 1 out of 2,000.
Not a bad, not a
Yeah.
bad number, all things
That's
considered.
it for me.
All right, number 7, discussions and action on proposed charging station at 9 Pond Street.
So I'll jump to the chase and tell you that I'm going to ask that you table this for now, and I'll tell you why. But I did send you, I think we're in good shape with the proposal. We have the EV United suggestion that we use the Autel charger. They compared prices for us, gave us several to choose from, and based on their analysis, I felt the Autel one was the best. It's a single pedestal 2 charger option. Level 2 charger, and we got Brett did an estimate of the transformer underground meter work that we would need to do, and the electrician has done an estimate of what they would need to do to hook up the charger itself. So all the pieces are there. What I was hoping to get for you today was just an assurance that, one, everything that we put in this proposal was going to be eligible under the grant that the town got to do this through. Believe it or not, GMP is running that grant program. So,
No
yeah.
conflict there.
No, it's a little weird,
Yeah.
but I didn't get an answer as to whether all these components are fully eligible under the grant. There was some concern about the service contracts and whether those were covered under the grant or not. So I'm still waiting to hear from that. And see, I thought this was in the hopper before I got here, and it turns out that I don't think the town was fully on board for their cost share, which was the other piece I wanted to be sure of, was that the town was gonna be willing to do their cost share, which I think is 20%, so total project is about 25,000, so it would be about 4,500. Penny says they're just doing their budget now. This is not the highest priority for them. They need some time to figure this out. So she's thinking more like April or May, we could revisit this. They'll have time to look at it and be able to get us an answer. So right now, it's kind of all on hold. I know he's anxious to get out there with the backhoe as soon as the ground thaws, but we can wait.
I had those were some of the questions
Yeah.
I had was, really what's going to cost?
Right.
Who's going to pay what?
Right.
Is it real?
Yeah.
The other question that I had too was when the grant money's on, who then picks up the cost after that?
Right.
I just don't
Exactly.
want, I wouldn't like to see Ludlow Electric holding the bag for
Right.
the charging stations. And I can see how if we don't ask that and have a clear understanding up front, I could see how that could happen.
Absolutely. So, those are exactly the type, some of those are exactly the
Okay.
type of question I wanted to get answered that I haven't yet.
Okay.
But the way this is supposed to work is that the grant pays for the full costs of the installation, including the work.
And is Sunoco still in on that,
Oh, you
or
will-
no?
No, for a different reason, and I'll talk
All
about
right,
that in
okay.
a second if you want. So, but Penny had similar questions, even if they put up the 20% match for this, so we get it constructed, we get it maintained for 3 years under the service agreement that's included in the contract. I could make it longer, but it's about $1,500 a year for the service contract. So I thought, well, you'd see after about 3 years, you'd see whether the thing is causing you lots of headaches or virtually no headaches, and you can make a decision about future service contracts after that. But the answer to your question is after this grant period, yeah, the ongoing maintenance and management of it would be the responsibility of the town. It's a town
Okay.
project. And the grant requires that you keep it operational for 5 years. So if it was really horrendous, you could pull it out after that if you wanted, but the goal is not to be
So
pulling something.
is the service contract the same as what the electricity costs to run it?
No,
No, okay.
no.
Be-
And
So we would have to, that would have to be added in there at some point. Who
the
paid-
charger that we chose has the ability, and this is one of the reasons we chose this one, it has the ability to set different rates for different types of users by card. So you
Yeah.
could use your own credit card. The Ludlow Electric would never pay for the electricity
All
for
right,
this.
okay.
Maybe we
All
would
right.
get paid, we would be paid for the electricity.
Well, good.
The minimum would be what it costs us for, we would say, like, residential rate. But, to give you an example, some of the fast chargers charge, our electricity rate's about 14.5 cents a kilowatt hour. Some of those fast chargers charge 45 cents a kilowatt hour or 75 cents a kilowatt hour.
For doing what you just said, charging
Right,
fast.
for
Okay.
charging fast.
Okay,
So, there was some discussion of making this free for the town employees, which I'm not even sure that has been discussed at the town level. And it's not free. We can't just give away the electricity. So it would have to be the town making a decision that for its employees, they wanted to provide this benefit, and they
Yeah,
give them a
they're
special
okay.
card, and they do that. Or they might say, you should pay for it at the going rate. And we may say that for visitors or people who don't have an account or whatever, that it's 20 cents a kilowatt hour or something, I don't know. But we would not be subsidizing electric
okay,
usage at
all
all.
right, that answers my question.
So anyway, I'm suggesting, if you will, I think all the pieces are here. I'm suggesting that you table this for a month or two and we'll come back to it.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay with that?
Good.
Yep.
So
Would you want to make a
No.
motion to do that?
I'll
To
make the
table?
motion
Thank
to
you.
table the proposed charging station.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tabling number
Thanks.
6.
All right,
Okay.
thanks.
Number 8, discussions and action on power service agreement with BEPSA for Flatland Solar Project in Swan.
So, the title of this is slightly off in the sense that I actually don't need you to approve a power service agreement yet. We're not at that stage. What I am going to ask you to approve and weigh in on is is essentially a vote of interest in the project, to say we are interested in participating. In your packet, a few pieces back is this Flatland Solar summary that we got from PEPSA explaining why they feel the project is worth doing. What I can say is this is coming in more expensive than what we were talking about a little bit ago. This is $122.40 a megawatt hour, or 12.24 cents a kilowatt hour. And they said that is kind of the going rate now for a new solar project. And there are few and far between that they've been looking for to participate in to help all of its members, including Ludlow, meet our REC requirements. So the renewable energy credits that we'd be earning, even though this is more expensive power, they feel would still more than offset the costs of an alternative compliance payment, which you
When you
have to
say
make.
they, you mean
VEPSA, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
So if you don't have RECs on hand and you haven't created them, you have to buy them on the market, and that's called an alternative compliance payment. And they project that to be very significant for the members over the next, I'm not sure they said, but I'm thinking it's 25-year term, yeah. They thought that would cost an extra $10.1 million beyond the project. What I don't have is, I don't have a specific number of RECs that this project would provide. It's going to provide two different types of renewable energy credits. Tier 2, which is what we're used to, and then Tier 4, which goes into effect in 2030. It's a requirement that we meet in 2030, and it's a regional REC. I'm trying to get from them, okay, so if you'll note that they're suggesting we participate at 30% of the project. On the second sheet is a breakdown of the towns that they thought could be helped by this project. And they're asking for everyone by the first week of March to just indicate their interest in proceeding or not.
Where is this project?
I'm sorry, second page?
I've got
Swan.
that.
Oh, you do?
Swan.
Swanton, I'm sorry, the project is in Swanton.
Okay.
And it's a 4.9999 megawatt project. So based on, we've been short of RECs, as you might imagine, because we don't have in service territory generation. We will with Stonehouse Solar, but otherwise we don't. We pay about $30,000 a month for renewable energy credits. What I want to try and do before we do have to sign an agreement, formal agreement, is I would want to know if we do buy in at 30% of this project, how many RECs are we expecting? What's that going to do to our REC balance? And what are we going, how much will we save off that $30,000 a month?
So our percentage is pretty high.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I was wondering
But-
why that was.
Well, it's kind of based in part on need that VEPSA has assessed kind of the shortage of RECs and tried to divvy it up that way. Stowe's a little unique because Stowe is not a VEPSA member, but Stowe usually gets its power through E&E, Energy New England, because they're not VEPSA member, they haven't participated in the other power agreements. There's trying to get back into VEPSA. And when this project came up, Jackie Pratt, their manager, had been searching for projects to do and was unsuccessful finding any. So when this came up, she asked if she could join. And she said that Stowe would be interested in up to a 50% share. And VEPSA indicated them at 44. So that's kind of an independent, reaffirmation that this is hard to do. Stowe was kind of struggling, looking for where to go, and
Yeah.
and if they could get in on this project, they would be very happy.
That's a value add for
Yeah.
BEPSA in the
Yeah.
corner of,
So
maybe let's not throw them out. Yeah.
is Stowe trying to get back in with BEPSA?
Stowe is trying to get
Yeah.
back in with
Yeah,
Pepsi.
they've signaled that they have in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah,
We've heard that already.
yeah.
And then Burlington's not on here.
No, Burlington Electric, Burlington is pretty much all, they have all the recs they
Recs
need
that
and
they
are
need.
100% renewable at this point with McNeil and others. So I think what I'm looking for is a motion of willingness to continue on this track and to suggest state of EPSA for the purposes of continuing the discussion and for drafting agreements or whatever, we would be interested in up to a 30% share, and then letting this process continue, if that's okay.
I mean, I
Again,
think-
we don't have a formal agreement before us, and I don't have those numbers yet in terms of how many recs, how would it reduce our rec budget,
Right,
which I would expect you'd want to see before.
yeah.
I mean, I think it seems to make sense, a lot of sense in general. I am curious just about, like, when we talk about these things, this is a Swanton generation, are there transmission fees associated with that? Is the 122 delivered? Or is that,
Oh,
does this
Yeah.
increase our transmission load? I mean, it
I think it
feels
does.
semi-local, but it's also.
right, I think there is some
100
transmission.
something miles
And I
away.
don't think it's included in here, but
Alright.
I'll check the transmission ramifications.
Yeah, that's just a curiosity, I guess, more
Yeah.
than anything. It's still
Yeah.
probably a value add. Does
Yeah.
this replace, there's that other part of just like, we're adding, this is 3,000 megawatt hours per year. What is that replacing in our load? Are we not buying?
Right, we wouldn't be buying other things. Well,
Are we just
We have to
reducing
revisit
our demand from,
we have to revisit our whole portfolio in terms of
Yeah.
how much power we're buying into versus what we have to buy. And, you know, I have to say, I've been educated of this the last couple of months, where I thought we were buying the power from these type of projects at the rate we agreed to,
yeah,
and then we're augmenting it with power from the grid. It's not, doesn't work quite like that. The way it works is all the power is sold into all the power from all these projects that we participate in are sold into the grid. We buy 100% of our power on the market, and then we get credit for whatever megawatts were generated by the projects that we participate in. It's a little bit of a backwards
yeah.
accounting.
I didn't really realize that.
I didn't either.
I didn't know that.
So it's the way the power market works and the ability to sell the power into the grid.
Does anything not work like will,
Stonehouse will work the same way, except for we won't be getting any transmission charges for that, because it's in our
because it's,
distribution
yeah,
system.
within our system.
Right. But anything outside of our system is going to incur some transmission charges. This one will probably incur transmission charges from GMP, which we pay now. We pay transmission charges. It will not incur additional fees from ISO, and it will not incur fees. It probably, I should say, probably won't incur fees from Velco, and if it does, it's probably a relatively minor amount. But I don't think transmission is included in this.
When we
I'll have
get
to
power
double
from Velco, does some of that come from the solar on North Hill?
All
No.
that goes out of state.
Yeah, that's
It all goes out of
Yeah, it's all
state.
Connecticut.
Oh,
right?
that's-
Like or Mass, I don't remember. I
That's
thought it was
in-
Mass, but
Um,
That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
You mean the Velco transmission lines, the Velco,
The solar.
The solar
the solar
that's
thing.
generated like
It's
just
just
up
who
the
wanted to
street.
buy it when it was being, I remember when they were trying to market it and they had a price in mind. And there were political considerations and some people didn't like the idea of solar and didn't want to buy it on those grounds. And Connecticut was really on it at that moment. They
Yeah.
liked it.
there you
I
go.
think that's a lot of what it came down to.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
I think you're right on that.
So, yeah, so I'm just, I think a motion to, if you're inclined to do so, motion to authorize me to relay to VEPSA that Ludlow is interested in the up to 30% share, subject to more details in a service agreement.
Yeah, the transmissions, the recs, all that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, number 9, continued discussions of rate design and tariffs.
All right. So, I mentioned in my report that there's been a little switch from the Department of Public Services interest or willingness to see us go forward full bore versus part bore. But we do have the ability to do, some innovative or pilot rates structures. And so in your packet, third thing, I think behind the letters and behind the thing, you should see a sheet like this. All right. These are straw proposals. You can share one with Kathy. This was just to give you an idea of what would happen to rates based on a change to the demand structure. So the top one is eliminating the Res 03 structure, making them all, getting rid of the demand entirely. And you can see that from because the customer charges are different between Res 03 and Res 01, essentially putting all the Res 03 people into Res 01. Customer charge is less, so we actually, it's more, the customer charge is less in Res 01 than it is in Res 03. So if we move everybody, we'd lose 54,000 there. The energy charge at demand, we lose at 209,000. The demand charge, we lose 268,000. And the energy charge, we would actually earn 411,000 on kilowatt hours. It would be a net loss of 120,000. So that's I mentioned that we have to stay within plus or minus 2% of our net assets, which is about our net assets are about $2 million. 2% is about $40,000. So any proposal we have kind of needs to stay within that range. This is 3 times that range. But I just want to give you a sense of what happens if we took everybody out of demand and just put them into residential at the current residential rate. Then the next box, the first box there, is you take all residential 03 customers, you change the demand from the 9 kW to 15 kW. And what happens under that circumstance? And if you do that, you can see that the demand charge would have to go from a little less than $30 up to a little less than $35. So the $29.85 to $34.95, with the goal of trying to make this revenue neutral. As I should have started with that. So we'd have to change the current rate, the demand charge to that. We'd have to change the demand charge for the power kilowatt hours from 8 cents a kilowatt hour, because remember, they have current demand, they have a higher customer service charge, they have a pretty significant energy charge for kilowatts above the 9 kW right now. And in exchange, they got a lower rate of kilowatt hour charge to the 8 cents. That 8 cents would need to go to 20 cents, and the demand charge would have to go from 1784 to 1980. That's all within, there are 282 demand customers. That's taking all those customers, shifting the 9 to 15, and then trying to redistribute the costs among those to stay roughly even. You can see we have a $114 difference. So that's another example. The third was to take the demand customers, still increase the demand from 9 to 15, but then try and spread the cost out among all the residential users. So use the residential class. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention that if we change 9 to 15, from those 282 customers, we're down to 68 customers that remain in the demand charge. So it gives you an idea how many are below the 15. But this third example uses some of the Reso 1 people to help with this, and it gets it out of just the current Reso 3 people. And what you end up with in this example is increase the customer charge by 10 cents, not significant, but that's what this example does. Change the demand energy charge from 8 cents to 15 cents, which is closer to what the rest of the Reso 1 people pay. Keep the demand charge for KW the same, so anything above 15, you pay 17.84. That's the same as it is today. And then the new Reso 1 energy charge to make up that difference would be, instead of 11.43 cents, it would be 12.07 cents per kilowatt hour. So what you're doing is you're taking those 282 people, 68 of whom are still staying in demand. You're changing their rates for those that are staying in demand. You're leaving the demand charge the same, but you're changing their rate from 8 cents to 15 cents. Increase than what they were used to. And you're changing everybody else in the residential class by about 50 cents, a little less. Sorry.
Yeah, half of
About 0.05.
5, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Something like
6.4.
Yeah. So these are just two examples to give you a flavor kind of on what we can do.
This includes only, so we talked about this a little bit before, but we have in the Res 03, in theory, this class is going to grow now that we have the AMI.
Correct.
And really, a lot of the people that have been in this room, or basically anybody that's ever commented in public comments since I've been on this board, has really not been under Reso 1 or Reso 3. They've been under the net meter.
Yes, good
Res.
point with the, yes.
And so that also includes within those that customer base as well, those buckets? Or those changes, these changes would affect that class as well?
We did include the res, in this analysis, we did include the res net metering
Net
customers.
metering within those?
Yeah.
All right.
The net metering structure and what we pay them is a separate tariff that is statewide, so we have to be consistent with that, but I don't think it affects this analysis.
All right.
So I really present it to you, not for you to say, oh yeah, go with what's behind door number 2. It was really just to show you kind of what we can do and get your feeling for level of comfort for which way you might want to go, and then we can refine some options further.
I don't know, I mean, I think what occurs to me just with, especially with that discussion last month, or earlier this month, just a couple weeks ago.
It was a
Jeez.
couple of weeks ago.
It's just how much of our revenue comes from the demand charge across all of our tariffs,
Yep.
and how it really feels like, I mean, it's just a substantial amount of money, and because they haven't been updated over time to meet how usage has changed,
Right.
we're getting a lot of income from basically regular consumption.
Correct.
And so, I mean, I think I was more in the favor of, I mean, adjusting the trigger points seems to make sense, but like 15 still feels like if we're trying to encourage people in general, not like Ludlow Electric, but as a state as a whole, we're trying to encourage people to get heat pumps, get an electric car, and have more of these power-hungry things, electric, water heaters and all these things.
Mhm.
And so it feels like 15 just also seems like it might be low, I guess.
Yep. As I say, it takes out of the 252, brings it down to 68, so we're bringing, we're cutting it by 2/3, maybe a little more, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the number that are affected. But yeah, you're still leaving 68 customers in that thing. I will tell you, some of the demands, the reason I looked at 15 was I could see this when I looked at the bell curve of kind of where people are in the demand. You got a lot kind of triggering it at the 9 and 10 level, so they're just barely over, but they're over.
Yeah.
Then you've got a bunch that are in the 11 to 12 range. And then
Takes a lot to hit the 15.
it does take a lot to hit the 15, but we have people, it's sort of like there was a natural kind of die-off of about 13, 14, so it kind of took that as a chunk. Then beyond that, what happens is, the 15 goes up to, we've got people that are drawing 36,
49.
49,
Wow.
they've got 400 amp service.
That big house across from Epic up there on the mountain, that log cabin, they've hit 49 on that thing.
Jesus.
Well, they have heated
The-
walkways and
the
heated
top
pool,
one, yeah.
electric heated pool.
All right, so yeah, I
The
mean,
top, the
But
top
that's-
house, not,
like if we're talking about
That's-
that, that's.
Which is, I think, what we're talking about
Alright.
with that remaining 60, not necessarily
sounds right
perfect, but
below.
Yeah, I guess
Changes come to
that's
some of the
that's
ones.
helpful context. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if we give people a way to, like, we're not talking about just heat pumps and
Right, chargers.
and car chargers.
Right.
right.
And if we get into more of this, and I guess that's next year's rate design now, but like when we're talking about really trying to shave our peak by having, hourly rates, I think would help with that too, but then that signals out these people that are, some might argue, being wasteful.
I mean, you still gotta watch, you guys gotta watch what you're creating here, because I understand we're trying to push the electrification, but if you don't hold them accountable to some point, you've gotta have that cap somewhere, because
Yeah.
your infrastructure can go from,
Yeah.
you'd be rebuilding your whole system.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking for, I guess.
Yeah, we kinda need
and
to
maybe it
assess
sounds
what
like
our
15
max
is a good level for that, because I feel like we do want, I don't want to be in a position where it seems like we're punishing people that are doing what, again, not what we're kind of encouraging, but what the state as a whole is pushing
Mhm.
people to do heat pumps and do electric vehicles in things. And so I don't want to also punish them because they're doing what the state is telling them to do.
Well, some people, I think, are doing that not because the state is telling them to do it, but they see, a savings with a heat pump as opposed to an oil propane
Yeah.
heater. I mean, I think that's.
They
what
are saving money.
I personally think that's what motivates people, not what the state's telling them to do.
I would agree. I think, yeah, I mean, are they saving money then when if they do trigger the demand charge? A lot of them are pushed into this class where they're all of a sudden not.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they might still come here and talk about their electric bill and leave their oil bill at home, right? But
Yeah.
the concept is there. I guess the other thing I wouldn't discourage you from continuing to think about is I think it's very possible to roll into some iteration of this and then a time of use thing as well with anybody who has an AMI meter, so you can opt in and get a higher charge during the day and a lower charge at night cost. And it's still got a balance, but it might provide the right incentive. In other words, we don't need to get, if people want to save money, there are ways that they can change their behavior to do so.
Yeah.
We don't need to make sure their electric bill stays the same. We need to make sure that that whole class as a whole stays the same.
And that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And I think these proposals with that context really point me in the direction that, I think that makes sense. I think 15 sounds like a decent.
You're okay with us working with that number for a
Decent
while?
level to work towards. I think just for me, it comes back to just creating enough room for people to adjust their loads, assuming that, in theory, there are some of these higher demand appliances going in now compared to when this 9 kilowatt was first. But, we don't want people to be wasteful. Yeah.
And I really do like your idea. I think you brought it up last meeting of different time, different charge.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that could work into,
Yeah, that sounds like
way
maybe
of-
more a next year thing, but
Yeah.
having and maybe for us, there are seasonal changes
right.
Yep,
and
It might
like
be.
weekend,
Didn't you used to do
not
that,
just
though?
hourly, but weekend.
Yeah.
Well, they're
yeah,
not
back when I
supposed
was
to
a,
do that.
when
So
I was
they
a,
had to-
when I was a
When you say-
kid, we used to have winter rates
Yeah.
versus summer rates.
I think Ludlow Electric used to, didn't it?
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't know. I thought there was a
So when you look at all the customers, it's not the ones that are demand charge, but how do you determine those charges?
Yeah.
How do you determine a residential rate as opposed to, just as an example,
Mhm.
an LLC, an
Yeah.
Airbnb? I mean, I see those as two different
Mhm.
things.
It's kind of why we
Maybe
have the
not in
commercial.
terms of the rates, but
Right,
go ahead.
right. So we always look at it through the lens of what does it cost us to provide that service? So
Yeah.
an example of residential, big picture, like residential, we have all of our administrative costs of answering the phone and going out and doing things and helping people. And the customers are, truthfully, the residential take more of our time than the commercial and industrial put together, right? So if you're thinking of the customer charge, where should that be allocated? Probably a little weighted toward the residential. Then, on the other hand, transmission costs and things like that, and peak load costs that we get charged for are mostly driven by the two largest users here, and commercial and industrial.
Yeah.
So transmission costs, when you do a cost of service analysis, you can weight those more toward commercial and industrial and kind of divvy it up that way. But then you've got all the other decisions to make, and this is where the art comes in, right? It's like, what I mentioned last time, that if we were just to simply divide up all of our administrative charges evenly across the board to all of our 3,800 customers, the customer service charge monthly would be about $44 a month. You know, so even though residences take more time than the others, even the 44, we've skewed back toward having the customer service charge be weighted with industrial and commercial more. And some of the commercial and industrial are more expensive with the different meters and the different things that they have, the equipments. There's a logic and a reasonableness to charging them more while you reduce the residential. And then you got the affordability umbrella over all of this, and you say, you know, a base charge every month, if that can be lower, then that helps the lower income people as much as it helps, you know, if everybody's paying a lower rate there, then if you only use a few kilowatt hours of electricity a month, your electric bill is reasonable. If we start out at $50 and then you add costs of power onto that, you know, it becomes maybe unaffordable. So you got all those iterations to think about. And you're not gonna get perfect. It's gonna be a
No.
balance.
Yeah,
Right, right.
What do you think, Kathy?
It's a big puzzle. I do think you're gonna have a lot more people moving to hitting on-demand charges as these meters are getting more accurate. And you're gonna have a lot more people like me in here. So, but it's also, you're gonna increase your revenue. And it's not costing you any more power.
Right.
Right.
So, I think
Right.
that's, but my first thought wasn't even about me, it's about if you decrease mine, you still gotta pay for the power, and you still have to be revenue neutral. So I'm sure you've done the math, there's like big disconnect to me between the cost of the power, and forget the administrative side, the cost of the power and the revenue. So, just because you're getting all this on the demand side, it's just not making sense in my head that you're not closer on revenue. Does that make sense? Because most people that are hitting the demand charge are probably not hitting the demand charge all the time, right?
Right.
So you're not
Most of the
paying
time.
for the power for them. So other people, they're already people that on demand are subsidizing.
Almost. The
Almost.
the one piece you're missing from this equation, which
Yeah.
is a significant piece, is that when the demand for the total load goes up,
Yeah,
we have to buy that power for a year at that price,
but that would only
at
be.
that volume.
That would only be on demand on Fridays, right? Whatever the time period is on Fridays, because that's that's
The
your
high point, okay.
So if I plug my electric car in on Monday or Tuesday, it's not really affecting anything, because your demand isn't going up for the,
No, but I've already hit that demand, right? Because of the Friday before or whatever, whenever that happened, I'm already in it. We're already committed to that demand level for power on the grid for a year. So we pay transmission, we pay load,
right?
right?
No,
Based on those.
I understand that, but like the locals, we're plugging our stuff in during the week,
Okay.
and we're hitting the demand, whatever the max is.
But you're not causing the peak on the Friday.
Right.
Oh, and, okay, now I see what you're saying. Right, so we want to try and
So-
give you an option to be able to
yeah.
So
do
I'm-
something that helps you in our system.
So
Yes.
I am new to this party.
Upstairs.
Upstairs?
Yep.
So I'm new to this party.
You don't want my company.
I'll be up in a minute.
And so now I'm subsidizing, the Smiths down the street, because I'm paying an extra $3,000 a year. I'm not even, I've hit 2,000 kilowatt because I didn't know about the demand thing.
Mhm.
So, and I'm I go anywhere from 7.5, I have one over 15 in the last year and a half.
Mhm.
So, I don't know, the math doesn't work for me, just from an accounting standpoint, from the cost of the power and the total revenue.
Okay.
Even before you start juggling around. And with the 250 or whatever of us on-demand people, that's gonna double with all these new meters, I would think. I mean, I know people that,
We've had a handle on the kilowatt hours being used on the existing meters, but you're right, if, to the extent that they're gonna hit the demand, the KW
Yeah.
power number,
yeah,
that we haven't measured in most places. We didn't
Right.
have a lot of demand meters out
Right.
there. And so that's what I expect to be triggered, and right now it's set at 9,000. And we're gonna, I'm sorry,
yeah.
9,000, 9 KW, 9,000 watts. So that, I imagine, will be triggered by the new meters a lot. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get a little bit ahead of that. What we can do, some of the things that we showed last time, I don't have them with me, but the charts showed for each class, the revenue coming in
Yeah.
for each. What it didn't show was the cost of service for each, because we don't have that yet. But what we assumed was, we're still alive, we're still basically balancing our books. So the revenue that we took in '25, for the purposes of this exercise, we're considering it to be our cost of service and then trying to divide that up.
Okay.
But I could work with you, or happy to try and answer questions
Okay.
with you.
So
Because I'm not quite sure where, I can certainly see multiple places where there's a disconnect and it's not making sense, but I don't know specifically
Okay.
what you want to see, but I'm happy to go over that with you.
But to that point too, so once somebody hits a demand,
You're stuck with it.
you're stuck with, right.
Right,
yeah.
we're stuck with it,
Well,
you're stuck with
you're
it.
stuck, I mean, you have
But it
11
doesn't-
months to never go over that. But the company itself has to pay that high premium for the power.
Yes.
To ensure that power is going to be available.
Yeah.
Yes, but if you're not hitting it during your high peak, you're not going over there.
Yeah, but we're still paying it.
We still have to pay it.
We're still paying that.
Once somebody has hit demand, we're paying a higher premium.
So if we don't use that power, so what you're saying is if we lose that, you're not paying it, we're not using that power at that time. The problem we have is then that's excess power that we have to sell back.
Okay,
And then it costs us more to sell it back than what we buy it at.
so you're telling me that we're giving all of our data to somebody that does the calculation that my meter is over 9 KW? Or is this on a whole?
It's on a
The
whole.
system.
It's on a whole
So-
system.
So from a math standpoint, that doesn't, I know what you're saying, but it doesn't make sense, so maybe we can.
Okay, we'll do that.
take
By the
this
way,
Offline.
yes, thank you. And by the way, for these examples, notice I didn't mention KWH anymore. We have a $2,000 KWH limit right now to trigger demand. We're suggesting we eliminate that KWH measure altogether and just look at the power, the total KW.
I like that, yeah,
I
because
did
it's
too.
not,
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense. And that makes sense with that, well, it's that load balancing that I'm saying. Like, give
Yeah.
people an option of like, if they don't plug in their car
Kinda
when they're
control.
also running their AC,
Yeah.
then they won't get that,
Don't
read
come
that.
home, plug in their car and start
reach
the
that.
electric stove.
And there is
Range,
there is an
start the
incentive.
electric dryer.
right.
Yeah, building an
And
incentive,
what is it,
building a way
like
for people to
15
work around
minutes
it.
of using that amount?
Right.
Is it
Right.
15 minutes
Yeah.
of using that amount of power? Yeah.
So somebody said though, as soon as you plug in your electric car, you're over.
Yeah, it's instantaneous almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right now, because we're at the 9.
Right.
Right, we're at the 9, right. If you
And
did-
if,
So now I'm not.
I mean, with these new AMI meters, I guess I wonder if there is an ability or a function of notifying people, like that they would be in real time, like, hey, your
I wonder.
load is reaching,
Send a
15
text
or-
message.
Yeah,
you're
we
getting all
can't
that.
see it. I know
We
that,
don't
I
have-
know that we only have access the next day to the
Day.
15-minute
Alright.
data, as do they. They will have.
They have
We
it.
don't have instantaneous.
not
Yeah.
instantaneous.
No.
So I've been asking around. So friends that are on GMP and other, in Connecticut, they get a notification if they're hitting, if anything's out of whack. If they're hitting like the peak period, they get a notification.
Well, that would be wonderful if
I'll
we
ask.
could do that, yeah.
I don't know.
Were you
Our
able to
system-
look at your car charger and have it at a lower kilowatt?
I haven't looked because I have to, it wasn't set up correctly when I put it in. It's-
Yeah.
I got it free from Vespa.
Right.
But I'm not supposed to charge between 3 in the afternoon and 10 at night. And it's, but somewhere it didn't connect, the Wi-Fi didn't connect properly.
Oh.
So I've been doing that anyways, but I have to figure out how to connect the Wi-Fi now. But that doesn't help Ludlow because our peak is, what, 11 o'clock Friday mornings?
It depends, but yes, it's Thursday night, Friday morning, yes.
So that's what's different than we are.
Right.
With
Yeah.
telling us.
And all of that is non-snowmaking,
Yeah.
taking that out of the equation.
Yeah.
Let me ask your appetite between box number 1 and box number 2, and the difference being that you're spreading some of the pain of the demand customer charges back to all the residential customers a little bit.
I guess I would say that with the context that we've added, that Brett has conveyed too, just that we're really talking about a limited population, and it really feels like it's getting more to people that are just, maybe a little crass, but just being wasteful. And with raising this cap and bringing, eliminating the kilowatt hours, raising that cap to a point that like people have options that are not use all the power at the same time. It does cost us money. I think I like box 1 more, where we're really putting this back on the people that are exceeding the kilowatt hours or the kilowatts, and incentivizing people to find ways to spread their load around. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think, maybe even that 68, when you, in the way that box 1 does, kind of penalize them, maybe they will find more ways to spread their load, and that won't be 68.
Right. And the other thing I could point out, if you look at the kilowatt hour charge difference between the current rate of 8 cents for the demand people and 20-something cents, I could easily picture that coming back into play in a time of use thing, where
Yeah.
during the day, it was going to be pretty high, and at night, you could go back maybe down to, maybe not 8 cents, but you might be able to get to 10 or something like that. That would give an incentive to shift things.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. Maybe this is more a next year thing with this idea that we're just gonna try to bite off the residential demand.
That was my instinct based on the discussion we had and kind of where you all felt the pressure points were.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I am curious, now that we've had all these discussions, it feels like, Magris was voicing some interest in their different demand rates too. I
Right.
think I have a similar thought of like, it sounds like they are being proactive about trying to find ways to work with us on their different rates and when they're peaking. And to that end, I feel like I would support an effort to adjust those
Help with
demand
that,
rates
too.
too.
Yeah.
And, I
Once we have kind of the model around, like you're
Yeah.
saying, then I can apply it to the commercial demand users as well.
Yep.
I
Because
mean,
you have to, we're gonna have to come up with a way to keep the revenue the same.
pretty close,
I mean,
yes.
you-
Right.
Plus or minus
Brett's point,
2%.
you can't, so if you, it just needs to be at the back of our minds.
Right.
Because certainly the demand people or accounts are critical
Yes,
to keeping the other rates low.
correct.
So
But again-
you have to be careful how much you decrease those, because otherwise your residential rates we have work to do.
But
Yes.
again, with the AMI meter,
Yep.
it's,
Yeah, you're gonna
we
find-
are gonna find there's gonna be
Yeah,
more.
our current rates are working as intended, right? They are penalizing high-energy users
Yeah,
and helping reward people who don't use a lot of power.
somewhat subsidizing.
Yep.
Yeah,
That was the model, and that's what these do.
yeah. Yeah, people that don't use power are likely paying
Right.
less than they are.
Off to the next one.
Yeah.
Off to the next.
One down, two to go?
Good luck.
Yeah.
One down, two to go.
They're paying less, in theory, they're paying probably less than they cost us
Yes.
to get the power they get, at the expense of people who are probably paying a little more than they cost us.
Right.
But, yeah.
Hence box number 2. But I see your point, like,
Mhm.
maybe keep it discrete for now and just look at the demand, residential demand.
Yeah,
Cool.
I wonder,
But how much is that gonna change once all the AMI meters are
How do you
in?
determine a residential account?
It is anybody who's using owner occupied, tenant, or residential, even like a condominium is considered residential. If you are a business of any kind, or a combination of business and residential, you have an office in your house, or
An Airbnb, for example.
Airbnb would be considered residential. It's considered residential, not commercial. Unless and until you get to the point where you are running it as a business, like an LLC, or an LLP.
Okay, well, all right, Airbnb
Could be
owned
triggered.
and operated by an LLC.
Business, commercial.
That's a business.
That's a commercial.
How do
They have
you-
commercial
how-
account?
How do you determine that?
Yeah. So
No, that's
sometimes,
important.
oh yeah, no, it is,
No,
and I'm
super
finding them.
important. This is a big deal.
I will say that we're finding examples where people were improperly classified because we thought they were doing one thing and they were really doing another. But in that example, you look at the application, it's a sign up for a new account, and if they put it under a name of a business, it goes into commercial. If they put it under their own personal names, it goes into the residential. It's not, it's an area that we need to revisit because it's not being done consistently. I mean, it's 90%, 95%
Yeah.
right, but there's a 5% thing there where we're discovering,
I
those
would-
people-
I'm guessing that it's far more than that, based on what we all see.
you may
in-
be, and
in
that's.
changes in
Yep.
the last 3 or 4 years
Yep.
regarding Airbnbs and other businesses
Yep.
that used to be in residential buildings, homes.
Yep,
Right.
yeah.
And aren't now.
You
So-
may be right, and an example that's fresh on my mind, because it just came up not a few days ago, was somebody who, the account was opened under an LLC
Mhm.
as residential, these are dwellings we're renting out, and then a tenant took over the electric bill from that
And
LLC.
was living there.
Was living there in their name, and we didn't change the account code. It still was a commercial account. They were paying a commercial rate, and it should have been a residential rate. So I don't doubt you're right. At some point, we're gonna go through every one of those and figure out if they're properly classified.
Because I think there's probably a way to make it less tedious is to, renew or review the grand list,
Yeah,
because you could, anyways.
there are
Right.
ways, and we'll definitely pick your brain as to how most efficiently
Yeah.
to do that.
So
but
essentially, like,
things need to be done.
if I had an LLC and I was using 2 rooms out of my house for my business, but it's still a residential because it would be under my name, not my LLC.
Right. If it's home, there's all the home occupation things fall still under residential,
Yeah.
unless it's, unless it triggers it into a, it's not a clean one.
I think because of the way our town is, what we're talking about would be a really minor thing in some towns, but in ours, no, it's not like
Right.
that.
Understood.
Kathy?
So would like Airbnb like, you have it in your personal name, it's the second home,
Right.
but you Airbnb it 80% of the time, and 20% of the time you use it, would that be residential, or would that be
It's
commercial?
still residential if the account's in your,
If they
in
have it
your
under.
personal name.
Even if they're using it as a Airbnb?
Yeah, because we have no,
We don't have no registry.
there's no,
Right.
right, and there's no way to
Yeah,
know.
which
like,
they were trying to do
where
last
they-
year, was
okay.
get it
If there
registered.
were a registry,
That would
that would
change.
be,
You could
We
use
can
it, and
cross-reference.
Yeah.
then the commission could establish some policy and say, like, if you're renting out your bedrooms, you know, an Airbnb 50% of the time or whatever, you're
51%,
gonna,
yeah.
51%, you're gonna fall into this other category.
Yeah,
We certainly can do that, we don't have the data.
no,
To do that.
well, unless we had a registry, which
Right.
they,
that's another good example to use when it comes up again.
Yeah.
Because it will.
it will come up again, it will,
It
yeah.
will.
Okay.
It did get voted down last year, right?
It never went to.
Oh, it didn't
Never
go
went to a
vote.
town vote. It
Never
got
went
voted.
It
to
was
a
just
town
discussion.
The select board,
Yeah,
yeah, never moved forward.
But I'm optimistic they will next time.
yeah, it will come back up again,
Yeah.
no question about that. All right,
All right, well, thank you for that guidance. I'll have better iterations for you next time, and we'll also have, by then I'll be able to get into some of the commercial demand some more.
I think it
Bless
was
you.
a good job because it allowed us to ask questions and put things in a
Yeah.
get a better
perspective
handle,
that we
a lot,
can
yeah.
understand
Yeah.
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, as I said, they're just straw proposals to give you a sense of what you can do, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
I probably would have, you would have seen me like in shock and like trying to talk you out of it if you said, oh yeah, I love that one, adopt
Let's
it.
do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Logan, make a motion.
Let's
No.
go with,
So this is gonna be for the pilot,
Yes, this would be for,
so that'll be 3 to 6 months before we can get the pilot going?
18 months?
it-
Oh,
no,
what-
to get it in
okay.
place,
Be
I'm
effective.
still more optimistic than that. I'm hoping for like a couple of months.
So would you move people that are under 16 or under 15?
Oh, yes.
Right away?
everybody that's on.
Oh, right away?
Well, but then, do I have to wait a year?
Yeah. No, not, you don't have to wait a year, but you do have to wait for approval from the PUC of our pilot
Okay,
rate
fine, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
to move people anywhere. Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I guess that would, yeah, like, does it reset? Do people reset?
I
Without
would
going-
suggest we
I would think
reset.
so, yeah.
We reset
I- I-
everybody to
Right,
zero.
to zero,
Yeah.
right. I would reset everybody to, anybody who was below 15 to off demand.
Mhm.
All right.
Might even, like you said, you might want to reset everybody and then let people
Yeah, and
get-
let people,
hit to 15 again a couple of times before you put them into it.
yeah, I feel like I would want to do that and, yeah, re-trigger those notices of like, hey, you've hit 15, like, these are some tips to offset your power
Mhm.
and
Right.
not do that so that,
well, maybe
We don't.
say that prior to bringing them back to zero, this is what you're looking at if you are
If you
going to.
don't, yeah.
yeah, if you
gonna-
don't adjust your rates.
Right,
So you might have some people hitting this month, having 2 months, just because.
I'm not putting anybody else on, don't tell, oh, sorry, this is
Off
being
record,
broadcast. The Public Utility Commission would tell me I have to follow the tariffs, absolutely. I feel like I'm taking the chance of just saying, I'm using some discretion here and not putting people, we
Because
haven't
we're in the
actually.
midst-
In truth, we've been letting people go usually 3 months before we trigger them to begin with. There are ways that we're just trying to be, I think we're trying to be more fair and more conscious. And that way we apply some flexibility and discretion when we trigger this.
yeah.
I'll defend that before the PUC if I have to.
I'd just be curious how many people over us, just the numbers,
Yeah.
because I think that'll help in your calculations.
You mean as we roll out the AMI meters,
Yeah.
what do we
Yeah.
see? Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, we probably have, what, a month left on the rest of those meters, or?
I think he was thinking late May, and now I think he's probably thinking early May, but I think we
Yeah.
got March and April, definitely.
Nice.
No.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, it's going very well.
Yeah, it's great.
And one bad meter,
no, I mean, I
Yeah,
can't,
that's,
Not bad.
yeah,
Can't argue with that. I think anything under 5% would be like
Yeah.
crazy.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any reason for a executive session?
We don't have any.
All right, we'll skip over that. Other business?
Just real quick, I asked Chris for our next meeting to have some little signs made with our names.
Names,
So
yeah.
that, well,
Yeah,
I
like
think
the
that-
other-
I think that people
Other
might
boards.
like
other
to know
boards.
who we are, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
If we have people showing up, it is a nice
Well,
touch.
and
You
when
know-
we're on Okemo Valley TV.
That's true.
But
That's
also,
true.
yeah, they may just do that right in the town.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they got them, but we'll figure it out next.
It's a simple.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
putting
Yeah.
up these
next
things.
month you'll have them.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
and
that's
then we have,
That's a good touch. I like that.
yeah, I agree with you. Okay, our board meeting schedule. So, next, March 26th. I'm just gonna let you know, I will not be here for the May 28th meeting.
May 28th?
Yeah,
Okay.
if there's anything going on for coming up with that, maybe we'll try and
Well,
deal.
that's quite a ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, well,
Yeah, we can.
Do we need
Adjust.
another meeting to talk about the
tariffs.
tariffs, or you think?
My thinking was, based on the kind of curveball that I got from the department, that I felt like I could bring you these straw proposals, get a sense, and then I come back. We're in a much narrower range of things that we're talking about than the kind of
Right.
whole
Okay.
redesign, so I didn't feel like you needed another, like, scheduled workshop level things, but if you wish to, like, decide, you know, Chris, get all your stuff together and we want to talk about it one more time in a 2 or 3 hour meeting, we could do that. I just think right now, I can bring, I feel like this amount of time for an agenda item was okay.
Yeah,
If you
Yeah.
agree, I think we can handle kind of iterations of
As
this
we go,
in
yeah.
here.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
That meeting was 10 minutes?
Do you want a
They're done.
motion to adjourn?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 6:10.